Hello, my name is Hannah, and I am going to read I Can Read The Little Prince, Level 4. Do you want to join me? Let's read together. Chapter 1. 1. When I was 6 years old, I saw a fantastic picture in a book called True Stories from Nature about the jungle forest. It was a picture of a boa snake in the act of eating an animal. Here is a copy of the drawing. In the book, it said, "Boa snakes eat animals without biting it. After that, they cannot move and will sleep for 6 months until the next hunt." I fell into that book, The Adventures of the Jungle, and after some work with a pencil, I succeeded in making my first drawing. My drawing number 1. It looked like this. I showed my drawing to the grown-ups. "Does this drawing scare you?" I asked them. But they answered, "Scared? Why should anyone be scared by a hat?" My drawing was not a picture of a hat. It was a picture of a boa snake, keeping an elephant in its body. But the grown-ups were not able to understand it. So I made another drawing. I drew the inside of the boa snake. Now the grown-ups were able to understand it clearly. They always need an explanation. My drawing number 2 looked like this. The grown-ups advised me this time, "Stop drawing boa snakes. Instead, focus on geography, history, and grammar." That is why I gave up being a great painter at 6 years old. I had been disappointed by the failure of my drawing number 1 and number 2. Grown-ups never understand anything by themselves. And it's tiring for children to explain everything to grown-ups. So, I chose another job. I learned to pilot airplanes. I have flown to all parts of the world, and it is true that geography has been very useful to me. Very quickly, I can distinguish China from Arizona. If I get lost at night, such knowledge is useful. During this lifetime, I have met many people who have been concerned about important matters. I have seen them closely, and that didn't much change my opinion of them. When I met a very clear-sighted person, I tried the test of showing him my drawing number 1. I have always kept my drawing number 1. I would try to find out if he was of real understanding. But whoever it was, he or she would always say, "That is a hat." Then I would never talk to that person about boa snakes, or jungle forests, or stars. I would bring myself down to his level. I would talk to him about card games and golf and politics and neckties. And the grown-up would be happy to have met such a sensible man. Chapter 2. So, I lived my life alone, with no one to really talk to, until I had an accident in the desert of Sahara 6 years ago. Something was broken in my engine, and there was me, neither a mechanic nor any passengers. I had to make repairs by myself. I decided to try a difficult repair by myself. It was a question of life or death for me. I only had drinking water to last a week. The first night, I went to sleep on the sand, 1,000 miles from any human town. I was more alone than a broken ship's sailor on a piece of wood in the ocean. So, you can imagine my surprise at sunrise. I was awakened by a strange little voice. It said, "If you please, draw me a sheep." What? Draw me a sheep? I jumped to my feet, completely shocked. I blinked my eyes hard. I looked carefully all around me, and I saw a most strange, small person who stood there looking at me with great seriousness. Here, you may see the best drawing of the person that I was able to make later. But my drawing is surely very much less charming than its model. However, that is not my fault. The grown-ups discouraged me in my dream of being a painter when I was 6 years old, and I never learned to draw anything except boa snakes. Now, I looked at this unexpected appearance with my eyes almost starting out of my head in surprise. Remember, I had crashed in the desert 1,000 miles from any human area. And yet, my little man seemed neither to be lost nor unsure among the sands, nor to be shocked from the tiredness or the hunger or thirst or fear. Nothing about him gave any suggestion of a child lost in the desert, 1,000 miles from any human town. At last, when I was able to speak, I said to him, "What are you doing here?" And, in answer, he repeated, very slowly, as if he were speaking of a matter of great importance, "If you please, draw me a sheep." When a mystery is too overpowering, nobody can disobey. Crazy as it might seem to me, 1,000 miles from any human town and in danger of death, I took out of my pocket a sheet of paper and my pen. But then I remembered how my studies had been focused on geography, history, and grammar. So I told the little man, a little upset, that I didn't know how to draw. He answered me, "That doesn't matter. Draw me a sheep." But I had never drawn a sheep. So I drew him one of the 2 pictures I often drew. It was that of the boa snake from the outside. And I was shocked to hear the little boy react to it with, "No, no, I do not want an elephant inside a boa snake. A boa snake is a very dangerous animal, and an elephant is very heavy. Where I live, everything is very small. What I need is a sheep. Draw me a sheep." So then, I made a drawing. He looked at it carefully. Then he said, "No, this sheep is already very sickly. Make me another." So I made another drawing. My friend smiled gently and kindly. "Look at this," he said. "This is not a sheep. This is a ram. It has horns." So then I did my drawing over once more, but it was rejected too, just like the others. "This one is too old." By this time, my patience was gone because I was in a hurry to start to uncover my engine. So I tossed off this drawing and I threw out an explanation. "This is only his box. The sheep you want is inside." I was very surprised to see the face of my young judge brighten. "That is exactly the way I wanted it. Do you think that this sheep will have a great deal of grass?" "Why?" "Because where I live, everything is very small." "There will surely be enough grass for him," I said. "It is a very small sheep that I have given you." He looked at the drawing. "Not so small that... Look, he has gone to sleep." And that is how I made friends with the little prince. Chapter 3. It took me a long time to learn where he came from. The little prince, who asked me so many questions, but he never seemed to hear what I asked him. It was from words dropped by chance. Little by little, everything was known to me. The first time he saw my airplane, for example, he asked me, "What is that thing?" "That is not a thing. It flies. It is an airplane. It is my airplane." I shall not draw my airplane. That would be very difficult for me. And I was proud to have him learn that I could fly. He cried out then, "What? You dropped down from the sky?" "Yes," I answered quietly. "Oh, that is funny." And the little prince broke into lovely laughter. The sound of his laughter annoyed me very much. I, like my unlucky situation, to be taken seriously. Then he added, "So you, too, come from the sky. Which is your planet?" At that moment, I caught the light of his hard-to-understand presence, and I demanded suddenly, "Do you come from another planet?" But he did not reply. He tossed his head gently, without taking his eyes from my plane. "It is true that on that you can't have come from very far away," he said. And he sank into a daydream for a long time. Then, taking my sheep out of his pocket, he meditated about his treasure deeply. You can imagine how my curiosity was aroused by this half-confidence about the other planets. I made a great effort, therefore, to find out more on this subject. "My little man, where do you come from? What is this where I live of which you speak? Where do you want to take your sheep?" After thinking in silence, he answered, "The box you have given me. At night, he can use as his house." "That is so. And if you are good, I will also give you a string so that you can tie him during the day, and a post to tie him to." But the little prince seemed shocked by this offer. "Tie him? What an odd idea!" "But if you don't tie him," I said, "he will go off somewhere and get lost." My friend broke into another loud laughter. "But where do you think he would go?" "Anywhere. Straight ahead of him." Then the little prince said, seriously, "That doesn't matter. On my planet, everything is so small." And, with a little bit of sadness, he added, "Straight ahead of him. Nobody can go very far."